Alright, so this video is for Carlos. It's the second one because I know you're gone again this week. Basically, it's just covering the second class. Just as a reminder, maybe while you're watching this, especially if you have two monitors, or maybe on your phone and on your laptop or something. But my site is teachmecone.flywheelsites.com, and this is the intro to the 3D class. And you just click class number 2, and then you'll end up here. All right. So it's actually a really short lecture. Mostly we're just working in class today. What I want to go over is box modeling and primitive modeling. Basically, the idea with box modeling is that you start with a cube, and then you would just add in edges and extrude out in order to make a character. It works pretty well for hard surface objects, meaning objects that have hard surfaces that are generally man-made. Because most of those objects are rectilinear in form anyway, but it doesn't do a great job of actually making like not boxy objects. Okay, so like for a character and stuff, I've seen some tutorials where they'll start with that, and it totally might. I mean, it does work. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I've seen results and they're, as good, but it's just you always are fighting against that initial primitive shape that you used. What I like to do instead is primitive modeling, which basically it just means that you take whatever you're making and you just use the primitive forms of that. So for instance, there's this nice video by Gorilla CG. You can watch this, but basically they show like this is a cylinder and these are cones, and his eye was a sphere, and I think his head was a box or something. But I just take a bunch of shapes and then just combine them together. That way they look like, what they originally were meant to be. And you'll notice that most 2D characters are, in order to redraw them, the foundation shapes of those are always like spheres and cylinders. I'm sure you've seen those how to draw books. If you look at those, they always start with primitive forms. Same basic concept, but with 3D modeling. These are just some of the tool sets that you can use. I'm just going to really quickly go through these. So obviously polygon creation, right? We got to create polygons, so I just made a bunch of little GIF animations. Combine. If you want to merge two objects, you have to select them both and do mesh combine, which is this one right here. Separates the opposite. If you have two objects that are already together, and as long as they don't have any components attached to each other, you can go to mesh separate. Smooth. Basically what it'll do is it'll subdivide the model as well as round it. Extrude means you grab faces, you hit extrude, and it will create a new set of faces from that. Multi-cut tool, which we use a whole ton, basically allows you to cut lines, cut new edges. If you hold control, it'll actually do an edge loop, as you can see here. Fill hole, you select an edge loop, or like where the hole is, and then you just go mesh fill hole. If you just have the object selected and hit fill hole, it'll also fill any holes, but that way you don't necessarily know what's getting filled. Bridge will actually bridge two edges across like that, right? That makes sense. Bevel, what it'll do is you start with a hard edge, you select that edge loop, and then what it'll do is that it will round that edge. Because you'll notice that most objects, even things that are, like if you look at your desk right now, you might say, oh yeah, it's a square, or it's a cube or something, but it doesn't have an absolutely perfect hard edge. It's actually a little bit of bevel. So most objects should have some sort of bevel. Slide edge allows you to grab an edge and then you can slide it across the surface. What's nice about this is that unlike the move tool where you'd have to like move it and scale it and rotate it or whatever, this will actually it'll blend from one side to the other. Merge allows you to merge vertices. You select two, you hit edit mesh merge, or you hit this little button there. That's fine. Target weld, it allows you, as long as you're in the vertex component mode, you can grab one and just drag it and that will merge them. We're going to continue modeling the character, and the next assignment basically is to basically get the body model done. So what you should have is not the head. Don't worry about the head. We're going to do the head on probably next class, I think. What I want you to do is get everything but the head done. So you should have hands and feet and a general idea of what the body looks like. I put like the first video, so you probably already did these first two, but depending on where you were, just basically continue on, and you don't have to do this face part, but continue on till you get a good part of it done. So you should just continue where you left off and just keep making the character, and that would be it. If you ever run into any problems, just email me. You know where I'm at. and we will see you next week. And I hope your service is going well.